Colin get finished setting up before we get started, how many of y'all have been to a bootleg bomber before? Anybody? I know Kestrel's been to one. Been to the what?
The talking one.
The talking one, but you've never gotten to destroy the bootleg afterwards? Man, this is so much fun. Yay, Colin's here. I'll let Colin start. Oh, we're good. We just couldn't get the mics on. It's working out. But yeah.
Oh, Alex is here.
Sorry.
I am oblivious. I couldn't even see Craig. It was bad.
No, you've got other things on your mind. You're busy juggling lots of balls and babies and things. Balls, babies.
Baby's gone now.
Oh, no, that's not. No, I mean like just babies in general. Hotel.
Have fun, guys. It was a super awesome panel.
Awesome. Gotcha. You ready?
Yeah.
You guys start.
I gotta start.
You guys start.
All right. Hello, everyone.
Hello.
This panel called Liquid Nitrogen with Greg Ayers usually goes by another name, and it's a panel that we do at my convention over in Maine called Animaine. And basically, what it is we take bootleg merchandise, which is anime merchandise that has been illegally produced, and none of the money paid to it goes back to the original producers. And we'll take it and we educate you a little bit on how to recognize bootleg merchandise, and then we do really awful things to it.
Destroy it.
I totally wish I had known about this yesterday, because I just got tricked into buying a Chobits bootleg.
Oh, so that's a great starting point. How did you find out that it was a bootleg? Like, what gave you the idea that it was a bootleg once you got it?
Well, I know that most of them, like, they're really nice, come in the slipcovers.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, and I opened it up, and they usually have the letters and the numbers, and I was like, no.
Yeah, DVDs, I think, are how most of us have been tricked in the old days. Like, I definitely have my share of bootleg DVDs and soundtracks, too. In fact, I used to argue with an ex of mine. We both thought we had the official Final Fantasy VII soundtrack. And now, since buying this ages ago, I've learned to detect bootleg merchandise. So I finally found my copy, and I go, ha! And on the back was the logo of one of the most infamous bootleggers. And I was like, I'll just go home now. So yeah, we've all been ripped off, definitely. That's kind of why we do this panel, to make sure that you guys are getting good merchandise. One of the things we always say is the whole idea behind bootlegging merchandise is to make a duplicate of something out of cheap materials, sucker somebody, and then get out of town. Like, that's how bootleggers work. If it costs a lot of money to produce it, they wouldn't do it because there's no markup in it. So what do you want to start with? What kind of products do you want to talk about first?
We'll do DVDs and CDs, because I think
They're
CDs and posters, I think, are the biggest.
The biggest ones, yeah. So does anybody know, like, what you should look for to make sure you're getting a proper DVD? Yeah, what's some of the things you look for?
You want to look at the quality of the print, basically on the CD itself, and on the jacket. You'll see a lot of dots and pixelation if you're not getting a legit one. Same with DVDs. You want to check to make sure the quality of the discs. If there's a ton of episodes shoved on one disc, that's the I've had my fair share.
Yeah.
So,
and the problem is, what happens when you put too much on a disc?
It tries to shrink it to fit it on.
It compresses it, and then you get choppy audio, choppy video. Some of the old Hong Kong bootleg discs, the subtitles sometimes came on and sometimes they didn't.
And the mouth goes like this.
Yeah, compressed video. Yeah, the compressed video regularly has sync issues with the audio. You have to be careful on the print job, though, because we've seen bootlegs that look better than the original. We've seen print jobs that actually the Sakura Diaries soundtrack? Which one is the one that has the... the Sakura Diaries soundtrack, the bootleg looks better than the official Pioneer Music CD. Wow. So sometimes that is something to look for. But the biggest one on DVDs, like you said, is look for too much on one disc. What are some of the other things you think of? Yeah.
I might be a little incorrect, but can't you find copyright information somewhere on, don't let
Yeah.
Itself too sometimes?
That's the biggest, yeah. The copyright, and usually with anime you have two property holders. You usually have the Japanese studio that created it, like Studio Trigger, and then whoever is distributing it in the United States. Who distributes anime in the United States? There's only a few companies.
Funimation.
Funimation, Sentai Filmworks, Right Stuff.
Studio Ghibli.
Ghibli is Ghibli, yeah. G Kids, yeah.
Doesn't matter.
There's one other.
Sure is.
NIS America does DVDs,
Netflix.
but they don't produce DVDs, do they?
I have the Magi on DVD.
But the DVD may not be from them.
Oh.
They're not the ones
Yeah,
that-
no,
Gotcha.
that's getting them. Yeah, I think you can be safe to assume that if you got it from Netflix, it's not a bootleg. Yeah,
No, I
they
don't
have to be
think
very careful. But yeah, the distributor and the copyright stuff is the most important. What was the other thing you said? The shell. I didn't hear the last thing you said.
I think that's also on the disc as well.
Oh, on the disc itself.
There should be some, names are escaping me now. but
Yeah.
It's some special stuff on the disc. It's usually like never not on it.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
But I'd say with
Yeah, it's the copyright and trademark information is usually always on the disc and any booklet or anything that comes with it.
Every time I looked at a disc that is official, I've always seen like a tiny white text all around the ring.
The mastering area, yeah, the ring on the inside, yeah.
It's also just when it comes to copyright, that's not just like a disc and DVD thing. That's pretty much
That's everything.
any piece of merchandise. If you can't find a copyright or trademark information on it, it's gonna be a bootleg.
Yeah. Like, anybody in here collect I'm gonna seem like a giant 14-year-old girl for a second. Anybody in here collect Hello Kitty stuff? Just me? Okay, yeah. It doesn't matter how tiny it is, you will find the word Sanrio somewhere on every single teeny tiny little thing that is Hello Kitty. The same with Mario stuff. You will never not see Nintendo's brand on those. So like, those things will always have copyright information. Yeah.
Me?
Yeah.
Oh.
No, behind you. I'm sorry. Yeah.
I have two things.
Uh-huh.
One, when I was looking for curtain stuff, I've also noticed there's a holographic sticker that you can find someone's on them.
That's tough.
There was a thing that in the past a lot of companies did. Gynax does it for almost all of their Evangelion merchandise. However, it's real easy to make those if you buy them in bulk, and so I've seen quite a few bootlegs.
Doesn't the famous Ava disc of yours, doesn't that have like a
It doesn't have a
holographic sticker on the
holographic
side?
sticker, but the whole thing is holographic.
Yeah, we've seen there's a company that produces bootleg Ghibli stuff, and they have created a holographic sticker that looks really similar to the Ghibli sticker.
I have another thing as well to add to that. When me and my girlfriend went to New York, we were actually tricked by Kinokuniya that sold us.
Yeah, not the New York one, but the New Jersey one
Really?
has a DVD store right next to next to where all the
Right inside
figurines
of it.
are, and it's all bootleg Japanese
Is it actual
movies, live actions.
Kinokuniya? Is it them or is it another company that's next to
It's a
them?
store within
It's
Kinokuniya
within
that works
Kinokuniya.
together with them.
It's
Wow.
all bootleg.
With, like
Wow, I've never heard of that because they're a real reputable bookseller.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know.
like-
Wow.
I know one of the partners there. I'll talk to him about
Yeah, that's really
Yeah,
interesting. I've
the
never
one in
heard
Edgewater,
that.
New Jersey.
Wow.
They literally have like
Okay.
Yuri on Ice for like $9, and it's in
Wow,
like
yeah.
in a square container.
Wow. Yeah.
I was gonna say too, like back to that. I did notice in the New York store, like all the DVDs are region coded for Japan. So if you see something that's like not having any region coding,
Region
you
coding is
would
a big
definitely
one.
want to
Yeah.
take a look into that. And also even in Canada, they have their Chinatown area. That place, like all those
Full of-
stores, full
yeah.
of bootlegs.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
I had somebody get in my face at a convention in New Jersey actually and said, that's racist because I said a lot of Chinese stores sell bootleg merchandise. Well, a lot of it comes from Hong Kong where trade is not, copyright is not protected and it's very common to find knockoff merchandise.
Yeah.
So it's not that we're attacking, any Chinatown store. It's just that a lot of them come from Hong Kong. In fact, we used to call them HK discs. All the Hong Kong bootlegs, we just call them HK discs because 99% of the time they originated from some Hong Kong distributor. kind of a lot of the same things we're talking about for DVDs are the same standard you can use for CDs, only CDs sometimes are a lot easier to spot just because the people that bootleg CDs are so egotistical they've created their own logos and have them on the discs.
Well, that's stupid.
The first one that comes to mind is Sanmei Music, and it's a
Oh,
little
yeah.
S and an M. That was what was
I
on my
remember
Final
that.
Fantasy soundtrack. I'm like, here! And the SM is staring me right in the face, and I was like, what is the other? Mia Recordings?
Ever Anime.
Ever Anime.
Ever Anime.
I think there's one called KO.
Oh,
Oh, yeah. And what's the, it's not Happy Smile, but it's got a name like Happy Smile.
I know the one you're talking
It's
about.
not Good Smile, because that's a real company. But yeah, the funny thing is, a lot of these companies like Mia Recordings, Ever Anime, if you look them up on Wikipedia, Wikipedia will say a company, located in such and such region, known for distributing duplicated, unauthorized copies of, video game soundtracks or whatever. So you can find information on. Somebody's like, well, you better watch it. Mia Recordings will come after you. I'm like, this is public knowledge. Like, these companies are bootleg companies. The other things to look for, how many of you collect video game soundtracks or anime soundtracks? Anybody? Okay, good. Be familiar with what you're looking for. Like, know the titles, know how many tracks you're supposed to be finding on a CD. I got a Chrono Crusade soundtrack that I thought was legit. It had, Moriyama's artwork on it, and the opening song wasn't on it.
Oh.
How can you have a
What?
soundtrack for an animation and not have the opening or closing theme?
That's stupid.
There's a Samurai 7 soundtrack that if you
Oh,
buy the
yeah.
bootleg version, you only get one of 2 discs. So, like, hope you don't like the second half of the music. So,
There's an
tell them about you have the best bootleg CD ever.
There's an Evangelion CD set that was put out a while ago where they basically got a whole bunch of different artists to do their versions of the songs from the from the show. And it's this really, really neat set. It's called the S2 Music, or S2 Works, I think. And if you've seen the actual thing, it comes in each CD has its own jewel case, and there's 6 of them, and they stack up into this cube.
Yeah,
Which
it's
is really
really
cool. I didn't know this at the time, however, and so I just saw that it was something I could buy on eBay, and I got it, and it came and it looked like just 2, it was the thickness of just like 2 jewel
Double
cases.
CD, yeah.
But you opened it and the CDs just fell out because they were all in there. All 7 of them, because they included the special bonus one. And they were just stuck inside the case, which was falling apart, just brand new.
That's sad.
And so and it was real bad. And the only reason I actually found out, it did have Ever Anime on the back, which I found out
Oh, did it?
eventually.
Oh, it wasn't ever.
But at the time, I didn't know that, and I found out because I looked it up, and it's a very limited edition thing. They only made a couple thousand copies of it.
So there's a limited edition bootleg. Get this bootleg while it lasts.
Yeah, but so it was just.
Wow.
But if you saw the DVDs by themselves or the CDs by themselves, you wouldn't have known because it was just like the real simple, like
The
one
design,
color artwork, and so it would look pretty legit until I saw the casing. And I've actually found out that they actually sell each individual one as well.
Ever does or the legit?
No,
The legit.
Ever does.
Oh, with
Ever does. They sell each individual
What is
one
that?
in its own jewel case. So there's probably the one that looks like the actual thing out there that is also bootleg, but
Another place you have to be careful, because you mentioned eBay, Amazon second-party sellers you have to be very careful of. And that's really weird because you think, oh, I'm going through Amazon, I couldn't possibly be ripped off. But Amazon just acts as the intermediary in the sale. And I got a bootleg, I'm looking at you, I got a bootleg Narima Daikon Brothers soundtrack, which it has the artwork for the soundtrack, but what I got, there's another CD that came out in Japan where popular rock and pop bands covered the songs from Narima Daikon Brothers. So what I put in, I was like, what is this? Because it's not the music, but it's other people doing the music. So for a moment, I thought I had been ripped off and like had a joke played on me. But it was and it's a legitimate Japanese CD, but they just put it with the wrong artwork. So, and I bought that I bought that off of Amazon, but it was a second-party seller, so you have to be careful. Sometimes even where you buy things.
And also with Amazon, just because it's Prime doesn't mean it's from Amazon, because anyone can basically
Set
get
it to be Prime,
set up
yeah.
to be Prime. So that's one thing you have to be very careful. Usually, a good, nice thing is that on Amazon, if you go down to the reviews, if it's a bootleg, a lot of times you'll see in the reviews someone
will
like,
post them.
it's one of the things, go and look at the negative reviews, don't look at the positive ones. Go and look at all the negative reviews, and a lot of times you'll find that people are just saying that this is a bootleg copy, yada yada yada, and you find out that way, if you're not sure.
And that's half of the game, is trying to figure out how to not get had. Because like when you're a fan, you get super, if like you're a fan of, I don't know, like, Code Geass, anytime you see the logo, you're just like, and you of course want to buy it, because it's your show, it's your jam or whatever. But like, there's some things that you can do to just kind of keep from getting burned. One of the ones that we suggest, and I've had to put a small caveat on this, because one of my friends that's a vendor is like, don't tell people to do this. Wait until the vendor's room is not busy. But ask them, like, hey, how do I know this is actually licensed merchandise? Don't accuse them of being bootleg, but like, hey, how do I know this is the real thing? A vendor that loves their job and loves what they do, Valerie's a perfect example. If you ask Valerie about any piece of merchandise at her table, she can tell you why it's legitimate. She can tell you where it came from, probably when it came out, because that's what, resellers do. They love collecting good stuff and finding things to resell. But if you walk up to a table full of plush that are just kind of thrown on the table, and you go, hey, is this a legit Nintendo plushie? And they're like, well, of course, and they get really huffy, I don't think I'm going to trust that person. Like, I'm going to go to somebody that can give me the information on the product. And somebody, I think it wasn't Anime, it was somewhere else, I think it was at NakaCon, somebody said, well, that's too much work. I was like, when you go buy a car, do you ask any questions about your car? Like, I want to know that what I'm spending my money on is worthwhile. Like, and the thing that we see time and time again is bootleg products fall apart and they're garbage. He's pointing to one now. They're not made to be good. They're made so that the person selling them can make a buck off of you. And that's really the only point. What else? Oh my god. That one has 1 foot. Oh, it just looked like it broke.
It's still kind of, man.
What else? What other
I
stuff?
think posters would be the other, posters and wall scrolls.
I was gonna say video games as well, because there's like some pretty funny video games that have been bootlegged. Like there's one that's titled The Lion King, but it's actually a Jungle Book Game Boy game with an anthropomorphic lion sprite replacing Mowgli, and that's it.
What?
You guys go.
What?
That's awesome. I kind of want that.
Do you guys address action figures, like Transformer knockoffs and stuff like that?
No, not yet.
So that's another one that's...
Well, it's basically anything that someone might spend money on has been bootlegged.
Yeah.
Some things are generally harder to bootleg just because of the nature of them. Like manga, rarely, I've seen some bootlegs, but you rarely see that because just the printing
is
cost
expensive.
is very
Yeah.
expensive.
Yeah.
So it's usually things that people can do cheap and quickly. Figurines is a good one.
Great one.
Because you can just, there's actually, if you have, has anyone seen a Taco no Video?
Oh, yeah.
What video?
Otaku no Video. It's an anime. It's by Gainax. It's an older anime. It's a really, really fun little movie. It's basically about anime fans in Japan in the early 90s.
Early 90s.
And one of the interesting things is that they start off, the main character gets sucked into anime, and his friends are like, all right, we're going to start making money, and they basically make a mold of an existing figurine.
Oh,
And they're gonna paint them and sell them. And the main character is like, no, we're gonna make our own stuff and then become the most successful anime company in the world and take over the world. And they do, and it's a really, really good show, so you should check that out. But that's, I always thought that was interesting.
Yeah, there are people that are making knockoff Nendroids now. And if you ever go to a convention and you see someone selling Nendroids without the box, don't buy them. Like, don't buy them. With 3D printing and modeling being as advanced as it is, it doesn't take much for somebody to create knockoff figures. Yeah. Especially something that's like compartmental, like a Transformers figure. Yeah. Super easy to create. You always want to, I'm sorry, we keep skipping you, like, I'll point. Yeah, no, but always look for the same telltale signs that we were talking about: trademark, logo, distributor. You won't ever see a Gundam figure that you don't see the word Sunrise somewhere on that box. Like, so those are the things you want to keep looking for. Yeah, you had something you were going to add. Yeah.
Where would you find a good place that would sell authentic product versus like?
That's a great question.
That's a good question.
What was the question? I'm sorry.
Where would you go to find a good, reputable vendor? Like, where's the best place to buy?
It's going to be a weird kind of like double-edged sword here, but I would say conventions, but also same place you can find the not-so-great vendors. But so it's, you really have to it's something you have to educate yourself on which vendors are which vendors sell exclusively legit merchandise, like Black Knight Comics, Valerie's always does it.
legit.
Rosemary
Keith, but they're kind of not doing that much longer.
Yeah, but I'm just saying.
Yeah. Another thing is become a member of fan communities. Like they're like specifically like Transformers. There are whole websites devoted to Transformers fans, and you can say, "Hey, I took a picture of this. Is this a legit?" You can be sure you will have 20 people either confirming or saying, "No, that's garbage. Don't buy it." So like, and that's one of the things that I used to lean real heavily on when I first started doing this, because when people first started asking me to talk about bootleg merchandise, I'm an actor. Like, I don't have the book on all this. But where I found most of the information is on the internet. Like, going out and talking to people on the internet. Like, okay, what about these Ben Presto plushies? And that I made friends with vendors that I knew were reputable vendors. So being a part of, like, there's a great Facebook group called Anime Fans Against Bootleg, and the profile photo is always a ridiculous piece of bootleg merchandise. Like, there's one that is a Sephiroth plush that has, like, Raggedy Ann, like, rouge cheeks, and there's a Red 6 that's, like, blue. Like, there's always some ridiculous piece. Oh, there was a Spider-Man. There's always funny knockoff stuff that they have, and they try to do a good job. Like, hey, has anybody seen these awful Sailor Moon figures? And so that's a good place to start. But I think the coolest thing about that is when you find a vendor that does take that extra step and go that extra mile to have good stuff, you support that vendor and you keep working with that person. Because most of them have, like, let's say, I'm just going to go back to Code Kiosk because I just said it earlier. Let's say you have this specific piece of merchandise you're looking for. The best place to be able to track something down is through a vendor. Like, hey, there's this thing I'm looking for. So being loyal and faithful to vendors when you find a good one is a great way to be able to get great, rare stuff. So, yeah.
Oh, I was just going to mention another ridiculous bootleg I've seen.
Oh.
And I think it's Pokemon, but it has, like, messed up color palettes of Ash, Misty, and Brock. I think they have Shrek and Batman in the pack as well.
Well, the best, I call it the holy grail of bootlegs, and actually, you don't have it with you, do you?
I don't.
Colin owns it. There is a copy of, what was it, the movie?
The whole series.
Oh, it's, wow. It's a copy of Neon Genesis Evangelion, the whole series, and the movie, and it was advertised as a Blu-ray, right? A limited edition Blu-ray. Okay, so like, name off, like, the most important characters. Who's an Ava fan? Just one. Kestrel, yeah, I was going to say. Who are the most important? If you could pick 5 people on the cover of an Evangelion box, who would they be?
Shinji, Rei, Asuka,
Misato, Gendo. Okay, so they had Shinji. They had Misato. It's Rei they're missing, right? Yeah. Asuka, Gendo, and wow, I just left my middle finger up in the air. Wow, don't videotape that. But larger than any of the other characters is this character that none of us have ever seen before. We call her Mary Sue.
Oh, I was gonna point that one out. I
She's
remember that
actually
from your
she's
last
from
one.
she's from another. She looks like somebody. Did you say you figured out who it was?
Wasn't me, but it was someone.
She looks like one of the characters from the show Air, and we think we figured out who she is, so we might actually have a name to give her. But not only was that artwork there, but the background is a Pokemon poster. It's
Was that
an
the same
inverted.
one you brought at Anime
Yeah,
Boston?
it's an inverted Pokemon poster. And what are the two Pokemon that you can see on it? It's
Darkrai and Cresselia.
Darkrai and Cresselia, yeah.
I remember
And they're
that.
visible in the artwork.
That's how old I am.
I want that stuff.
I love everybody's like suddenly I could be singing Mary Had a Little Lamb and it didn't matter because there's liquid nitrogen bubbling on the table.
I've got a,
Yeah.
what if, is it considered a bootleg if it, like, I know they're third-party transformed, but that make the characters look exactly, if the patents have expired or stuff like that, is it considered bootleg?
A patent expiring doesn't give someone the permission to create derivative works. It just means that in order to create licensed products, they have to renew that license. But that's a common myth with intellectual property, is that once a licensing agreement expires, it's up for anybody's grabs. So we have to do this quick, it's getting louder.
Yeah, it's kind of terrifying.
Okay, I was like, do I need to move? Like,
Do I need to move?
Third-party transformed figures are actually bootlegs then?
I mean, I'd have to see them and know what I'm looking at, but yeah, if it's third party and it's not licensed through an official channel, then yeah. And that goes with a lot of Square Enix stuff. There's a lot of knockoff Square Enix stuff, and fans have been like, well, I want an actual Keyblade. They're finally making them. But forever, you could not buy replicas of any weapon in any Square Enix game because Enix had just a hardline approach to it. And they're like, no, we don't make weapons. So yeah, you have to be real careful with any kind of third party. You have to make sure that they have the official endorsement from the company that owns the derivative works. Are we ready? Like, I'm as excited as y'all are. I'm like, all right. I think if y'all have any more questions about how to spot stuff, Colin and I will be glad to talk to you about it. But we also want to break stuff for you. So without any further ado, there's only one set of gloves though, yeah?
Two.
Oh, you do have another. Oh, awesome. Okay, we're gonna, yeah.
Do you want a pair of safety goggles?
I have safety goggles.
Yeah, we have. Yeah.
Yay, thank you.
Awesome. Oh, you even have this special. What would happen if I did that?
You would probably die.
I think you could actually drink it. I think it would be too painful.
Actually, you can cook with liquid nitrogen.
You can eat food
I bet,
that's
yeah.
been dumped.
There's a really cool ice cream place in Austin that makes all the ice cream with liquid nitrogen.
Yeah.
Oh man, now I feel smart.
Minecraft, no, not Minecraft, Milkcraft.
Make sure you're, now that you feel smart, I think your brain may be too big for your head then.
No, yeah. Well, these will hold it in.
I'm gonna take this bootleg keychain and just set it down in the liquid nitrogen while we have fun with the stuff I've already poured out.
What was that keychain supposed to be?
Yeah, who was it?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
Who was the liquid? I mean, who was the liquid keychain? Who was the keychain?
A character I think is one of the Naraku things from Inuyasha, but it's been a very long time since I've seen Inuyasha.
Oh, hang on.
The little ghost girl.
Oh,
Hana.
Kana, yes, Kana from Inuyasha.
Alright, I'm gonna just drop this down into the liquid nitrogen while we maybe I'll pour a little
I
more
was gonna
first.
say we need a little more. It's
Sorry,
gotten littler.
Well, you lose a lot of it when you first pour it out because of it has to cool down the whole.
Yeah.
So liquid nitrogen is pretty cool stuff, pun intended.
Well, it's yeah.
How do you feel about getting it for yourself?
It's very easy actually. It's not.
That's
It's people think it's hard, but it's basically you get one of these, which you can get on Amazon for about $300, and then you go to any welding.
$300.
Well, once you have these, then the liquid nitrogen itself, I got 10 liters for $33.
Whoa.
So
Wow.
it's basically just the container is the big expense. But also, if you're going to do that, be very careful because it's important to know how
Yeah.
to handle it. 'Cause
That
it's
noise is
dangerous.
scary.
What can it do? What are the dangers of it?
instantly
You can
freeze your hand.
get
If
frostbite.
you don't take care of your container properly, it can explode.
Yeah.
What happens
This
if
is-
you put a raspberry in the liquid nitrogen and then eat it
Yes,
immediately?
if you put a raspberry in the liquid nitrogen and then eat it immediately, it will get stuck to your tongue, and then you'll think that you probably burnt off your taste buds for about 2 days. Yes, I
How do
have.
you know that, Colin?
Poor decisions.
Chris gave me just to do that. You know, like, oh, that's right. Aren't we gonna put
Yes, so we're gonna put the.
baby girl in here?
There you go.
Baby girl.
We're gonna let this.
She's evil anyway, though, right?
and we'll see what happens in a little bit.
So Greg, I have an example.
Oh, awesome. Hang on a second. All right. That makes it superficial. That's the thing.
Right.
Okay.
It's
So
in.
what are we gonna break?
So I think the thing that we've always just found out works the best is the DVDs. So we're gonna
Crush it.
We're gonna go with the DVDs. So what do we got here? We have Junjo Romantica,
Oh,
Ah,
well.
yes.
and we have Case Closed, Ranma 1/2, and Wolf's Rain.
Oh my gosh! Wow.
We have a bootleg Ramen 1/2?
Oh yeah.
Sure do.
Those
That's
are very
probably one
easy
of
to
the most
bootleg,
commonly
actually.
bootleg shows I've seen.
Yeah.
Actually.
Well, I have the official 3 disc.
Oh yeah.
Can we show one of the bootlegs around so people can see like?
Yes.
Like,
Actually, do the Ranma since it's got the
let's go.
logo
Yeah.
on it.
Yeah. So,
Hang on, we need to.
I'll do it.
Alright, yeah.
I'll just do it.
Pass it around.
What is the difference?
Yeah.
I'll start from the back.
Let's
Which
do
case closed?
Hello.
DJ Romantica?
let's do Case Closed. I mean, like we're only gonna stop with one.
can I see it?
So here's our Case Closed disc, which you can tell because it's all region and no copyright anywhere.
Wow.
Check on the DVD.
It's also in Chinese, isn't it?
It is.
Yes. The writing is on the back is in Chinese. I love it when somebody tells me this is the Japanese disc, and I'm like, why is there Chinese characters on the back?
You can also know because
Oh,
of the
it
Chinese
says-
Mandarin subtitles.
It says all right reserved. Not all rights. Yeah.
Well, I think the Chinese, that's a big, like, thing when it comes to bootleg.
Oh, we've said that. Like you were talking about, it's the Hong Kong bootleg market. Yeah.
You want to drop that in?
Actually, I have a very interesting story on that Chinese. I haven't. I
Really
haven't.
no?
Greg,
I'm scared.
I have a very interesting story on that Chinese bootleg.
Uh-huh.
So I work for a software, a special needs software company.
Uh-huh.
And they designed the programs for I think it was the Macs only. Sent it out to China to have it changed to PC.
Uh-huh.
The Chinese went ahead, stripped all of that company's logos, everything,
Mhm.
slapped their own logos on it, and published it as their own product.
That happens a lot in China, actually. In fact, a lot of times, I'm afraid it's gonna crack. Okay, wait a minute. A lot of times, the company that makes the authentic merchandise will do a knockoff run without
Well,
brand
we
name and all that.
did, we asked, they asked these Chinese programs to translate, the Chinese, they decided to take all of our stuff off of it and put their logo and everything on it, and then sell it as theirs.
Wow. Should I try to shatter it?
Yeah.
As
See
a
what
big.
happens.
It's so bootleg it didn't work.
Wait a second.
There's so
Liquid
advanced
nitrogen as
things
soon as it
right
touches
here.
something. How about the case? How about putting the case?
Oh, we'll
put
do
the
it as,
cases.
Greg, I have a question.
huh?
When you've gone to a convention, when somebody's presented to you with a bootleg item that has tried to sell it to you, what has been your reaction? Have you confronted them?
It's
What's
tough because technically the studios tell us we're not allowed to sign them. But the problem is when somebody brings me something in an autograph line, they generally don't know they've been ripped off. So what I ask is if I can if I can write whatever I want on it, I'll sign it, and then I usually circle the things that make it indescribably a bootleg, and that's how we deal with it. Wow, this is hang on, oh, I can't control my fingers. Oh! Aww.
Hey, it cracked up. Hey, it
Cracked up.
It cracked up.
Don't have
This stuff warms
It's
up.
all cracked
The
up.
DVD material warms up quick.
Yeah. Bye bootleg.
Oh, the paper is fun. The paper is fun in liquid nitrogen. Hang on.
Oh no. That,
Oh, we left a little piece cooking.
Leave it in there.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Oh wait, the hand isn't big enough. I can't, I'm tempted to put my finger in there. I'm like, no.
Not put your finger in there, Greg.
wait, how do people in Whole Foods do that without gloves on?
You can, but don't do it.
Yeah. Wow, the paper's already cracking.
Wow.
Hurts like hell.
Yeah.
Like you can get liquid
You can
nitrogen
get
splashed
frostbite.
on you and still be fine. It's the sustained.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
leaves.
Leave.
It's snowing.
It might snow on Sunday.
Don't say that. I have a 4-hour drive home.
No. Dip, dip, dip. I feel like I'm on a cooking show.
The bootleg's fighting back.
When bootlegs
Get
fight
over,
back.
Of course, wow, this one's really bad. You ready?
Stuff's good.
I missed at the beginning when I was having dinner.
Good.
Okay.
God.
It
Wow.
warped.
Whoa. The flag?
I like that it's smoked as you break it.
Leave that front row. Watch out.
Pun intended.
How many do we have?
Oh, I have to go. I have to go. Sorry. Sorry, guys.
A little bit? What else do we have?
Let's see how the
How Kana did.
how Kana did.
Oh.
Leave her to the very end.
I can leave her into the until I need more liquid nitrogen. We can do the Junjo Romantica.
Okay.
Yes. Sorry.
Alright, boys. What are we doing the rest of the series?
But you wouldn't want it bootlegged. That's for
Oh
sure.
yeah.
Can I do it with everything?
Oh, and pizza.
Yeah, just
Good
go
boy.
totally.
Oh, no.
What are you doing?
No, the disc is oh.
Oh,
So bootleg, they forgot the
We
disc.
need more disc.
Wow.
that's terrifying, actually.
So bootleg they forgot the disc.
Right? Exactly.
Can that happen?
I've had things that are missing.
Actually-
Always have to have a disc
Yeah.
in the case.
Rub them out.
Romantica.
I think we're out of
Bye.
that.
Oh no, there's still some. Wait.
Uh-oh.
Alright.
Good.
Shattered.
And it hit the wall. Yeah.
And the apples will scatter. This is a great way to deal with the crowd.
Science doesn't have
Yes.
Yeah, who needs a destroy room? Who needs a rec room?
So I have Kana in here, and then I also have a couple of Japanese snacks. While
Just
we
for
have the
fun.
while we have the liquid nitrogen here, see what happens.
Bootleg.
Ooh. Did I give you that idea?
Real snacks, but it's
Just fun.
it's just for fun.
Just because we can't eat it.
Yeah, we
You
can.
could.
Yes, we can.
Because that's not.
No, we can't eat it. I mean, I might eat it, and then you'll get to see me lose taste buds for another 2 days. But
Just to be safe.
Well, the liquid nitrogen, if you wait long enough, you can eat it, you know. Like you said, the ice cream is liquid nitrogen.
Is she
Yeah.
stuck?
yeah, just a little bit.
Scrape her up.
What the?
Yeah, scrape her up.
This move is just like.
Because it's like the way
One,
there we go.
Here she
You
comes.
just missed it. Again.
Where'd she go?
Oh.
Is she okay?
She's slightly frozen, but she'll be fine.
No.
She melts?
Nope.
Sure was.
Aww.
And she bounces.
Oh, her hair fell off.
Hair
Just like
snap.
I had a Titus figurine that did that. after a while.
I think any figurine would do that.
Alright, oh wait, there's a DVD in here.
No, even without liquid nitrogen.
Yeah, no, we gotta take it out before we put more in.
Right?
Huh.
Look like a mad scientist real quick.
I always look like a mad scientist.
And that's asking, that's asking,
Get out. Careful. Get out.
that's asking, yeah, whatever. Yeah,
There.
right now.
I'm out of the way.
We're gonna do the ramen now. You gotta open the lid.
And another one bites the dust.
You're having too much fun with this. This is great.
Yes, we are.
I know.
You'll see what very good.
When do grown adults get to watch
Oh, yeah.
stuff
You know
being
some of the
cracked
things
by
about
liquid nitrogen? Never.
Have you ever gotten liquid nitrogen on carpet?
It's just evaporates.
It'll eventually just
Try that.
It's essentially dried ice.
It does to me.
It'll evaporate.
I've
into
seen
a
them
big
dumped it in a
amount.
pool. It's fun.
Liquid nitrogen, it's so cold that as soon as it touches something, room temperature or above it, it evaporates like that.
Yeah.
doesn't do anything.
They dumped it in a pool. It's really fun.
What are we freezing now?
We got some giant pocky and some the gummies. Which,
I love those.
Gummies.
Gummies.
This should be interesting.
I want the
Hockey
gummies.
ought to shatter good.
oh yeah.
Oh dear. This is gonna be a big mess.
Oh yeah.
It's gonna be like
That
glass.
is
And it turns to chocolate.
Yes.
It
giant
said no,
gummy.
don't freeze
A
me.
little more gentle with that.
That was a limb, and you could see.
Yeah, something like that.
This is assuming it doesn't just shatter as it's freezing.
Yeah. Oh, that's true.
Giant pocky.
Gloves on.
No, it's good.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Oh
That's so funny looking.
Oh wow.
Does it look like a curtain?
Yeah, the chocolate is disappearing.
Do we need a camera up there?
I'm just,
Oh, it's Fonz.
Holy crap.
Sorry. The chocolate is chipping away.
Oh no, it's sad.
Wow.
There's a piece right there.
That up real quick before it becomes a
That's so funny.
Yeah.
Because it'll eventually turn back into chocolate, and that will be bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It'll be a big mess, but hilariously so.
It'll look like there was a German film shot in here.
But I'm gonna throw two of these in here, one while
With
it's
the
still on the
packaging?
wrapper.
Yeah.
Oh no, I love those.
Yeah, these are the Japanese gummies.
Oh my god.
Oh no.
This looks like, yeah. What is it? Yeah. Oh god.
This should be a YouTube channel. They have YouTube channels with
Uh-oh.
Oh no.
This feels like a little ice cube. I can't get it out because it keeps going through the, hang on.
It's too small.
Ah, almost.
Wow, it's cracked.
Come back.
Jack, no!
Got it. No. Can I break it?
You could try.
Oh, it did. It shattered.
You're supposed to slam it, Greg.
I know, but it'll turn back into a sugary mess eventually. Where's the bag? Quick. Quick.
Yeah.
Uh-oh. Okay.
We have a lot of, there's a lot of pocky.
Okay, so good.
Then now the one with the wrapper.
It didn't even break.
well.
Oh, it's like a little piece of ice in here.
Well, the thing is, because the liquid nitrogen, when it makes things brittle and break, it's mostly because there's water in it, and so the water freezes, and that's what causes
Yeah,
things to
it
become
literally
more
feels like a
brittle.
little ice cube.
Science.
So when you have something like plastic, it'll get really cold and it'll get stiffer, but it's not as brittle as like when you put a flour in,
Can I try that in the name
because
of
there's no
science?
ice in the actual plastic.
I bet you that
do
the
some
inside of it is
Regular Pocky? Oh god.
It's a whole box.
Whole box.
No.
Whole box.
Put it within the box.
You like unwrap it, then put it back in? Is that what we're, okay,
Yeah.
there we go.
I can put the box
The
in.
box
Let's
in,
put the
yeah,
box
the
in.
box will be easy.
That's cardboard,
Oh,
so
look,
we
you're
should
grilling
see.
now.
Oh wow. I love that it sounds like glass. Oh wow, it's filled with nitrogen though. Hang on.
It's filled with liquid nitrogen in the box.
Wow, it feels like plastic now. I'm gonna make sure I empty it before I do this. Oh wow. That's awesome.
Oh, nice.
Yay! It's all.
Paper gets really cool, no pun intended, that time. Try a regular Pocky.
Oh.
I think we'll be able to pick this up.
Yeah, I think so.
I love that it chips the chocolate off.
I wonder, is it like
it's
the
not
air coming
this
out?
time.
I-
Well,
I
I guess the chocolate gets hard, and then the
What
bubbles
if
just
you
bop
tried
it
different
off.
flavors of Pocky?
It would probably be about the same.
Snacking on the job?
Yep.
Make sure you're just snacking on the liquid nitrogen, I think we'll be okay.
Wow.
Bag.
Bag. He's like bag.
Before it gets warm.
Oh, that's right. Ah. Crap. Cleaning with Colin and Greg.
This might be my next piano.
Okay. Oh. Oh no, that's ZBD. Okay, what's next?
What time is it? We have 7 more minutes. And
Who's got a baby? No, I'm kidding.
What are you doing in there?
It's
A
the
baby.
wrapper.
The wrapper.
The plastic.
The plastic wrapper to the big Pocky.
This should shatter pretty fun.
I don't know if it'll shatter, but it might get weird.
Ooh.
It might
Like
form.
tin.
It sounds like tinfoil.
Yeah. I don't think it.
Tinfoil in the freezer for a long period of time.
Oh wait.
You guys
Are we?
pack your
It's like
stuff down
springy.
in tinfoil.
Yeah.
This one, by the way, the one that we
Oh, wait,
threw in
this has
before, is still like an ice cube in here. That's how cold liquid nitrogen is.
What is the temperature of the liquid nitrogen?
Maybe 273.
It's not gonna get brittle.
Yeah, I think the
Not
material
quite
will
absolute zero,
break.
though.
But it gets close. But it's not.
I just
There's
made like
still
a
way to
party
go,
favor.
but-
It didn't really do much.
Now, what
Yeah.
about the tongs?
They're metal.
Well, the tongs should be fine.
Also, see, this is funny. You see this like white rubber covering? That's frost. These are just full solid metal. There's no
Yeah.
difference
You
there.
can't freeze metal and break it in the.
You can, but you have to put it in longer.
And it doesn't work like in the movies where you just spray the thing and then break it.
Yeah.
That's not how it goes.
Is that why
Right.
the wrappers aren't
That's why
working?
catalysts don't work.
Yeah, that's why the wrappers don't really shatter because there's nothing in them to become brittle.
Right.
That'll do the same thing, won't it?
I
Or is
know.
that different paper?
Oh, it's the same, but it's fun. It's got a thing in it still.
It's
That's
got a
the,
little-
That's the ice one.
Oh, this is the ice one? I don't know why I think I can do this with gloves on.
You can take them off.
Ah, look at me!
Oh, you got it open. Now, Colin, you have to eat it.
Not now.
Wow, they go crazy.
Here's a high chew wrapper.
Oh, that should work.
Oh, do you have a high chew?
I
You should see
do
what a
have a
high
high
chew
chew.
does in there.
Oh, I should definitely break.
I have fabric does not do like what you would hope. Fabric and plushies specifically will they won't look like they do anything, but they will just absorb all of the liquid nitrogen like a sponge and become a really like dangerous
Thing.
Once they dry out,
Aww.
once they dry out, they'll be
More.
fine,
Go
right?
back.
Yeah, once it dries out, it'll be fine. It doesn't do anything. Like actually, cotton candy will just act like a sponge inside of liquid
Wow.
What flavor
Oh god.
This is elderberry flavored haichu,
Oh.
which is, in my opinion, the best flavor.
Nah, strawberry's the best.
Ah!
No,
I'll
banana's
drop this
the
in.
best.
Strawberry. Strawberry
Here, guys.
banana, okay?
Actually, I like the taro.
Oh shit! I'm like hammering it into the table. Wait. Hang on. Quick.
Yeah.
I actually wonder what happens to more alcohol.
Oh no, it will
If you what?
liquid nitrogen alcohol.
Oh wow! Look at that.
Can I just wipe it with a glove?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Let's not.
Oh yeah, that's easier. The haichu is getting smaller. It's like shrinking. It's like imploding on itself. What cracked? I heard something like.
Haichu. It is the haichu. We got about 3 minutes, so this will be the last thing, and then we got to clean up.
Am I pulling the haichu out now?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
It's tiny.
First of all, there's this. Hang on, wait. Put it back in.
Yeah. Oh my
Yeah,
god.
it's just shattered. Yeah. And quick, put it away, put it away. It's like poison. Quick. That's so funny.
You got a little bit right up in the front there. Nope, right there. Yep, you got it.
Oh, yeah, I gotta see another one.
Want to try breaking the haichu wrapper there?
I bet the haichu wrapper will break.
Yeah, it's paper, mostly paper.
Ooh, that's probably.
Ow.
Uh-oh.
No.
I didn't do anything.
It went right back in. It was like,
It was like, hey, I'm not done yet.
I want to go back in the pool.
And it's resilience.
You gonna pull out your ice cube?
Oh yeah, let's pull that out.
It might.
I'm like backing
It's
away.
making
I'm like,
noise.
That's how you do it. You can shatter it inside.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like pop rocks inside.
I'll open it later and then see what it's
What
like.
it looks like, you're like, look.
Probably
It's
doing
confetti now.
Yeah, and now it's like, oh wow, the paint is coming off the.
That's what's cute, Kenny.
Yay!